We are back with Professor Patrick Lumumba, all the way from Kenya. He is a lawyer and also a Pan-Africanist. Good morning, Professor, and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us again. Once again, apologies, we got interrupted on Africa Day, and you had confirmed that the Africa Union is indeed a toothless dog, toothless bulldog. I said, I will say, Professor, can you move to your right a little bit? Can you move to your right a little bit? Okay. Professor, I said on Africa Day that Africa Union is taken as a toothless dog, an organization that is a toothless dog, and what can be done about that. And you said that Africa Union is indeed a toothless bulldog. However, you called on for Africans. Okay, maybe you need to elaborate that or retake that for us to understand. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that there have been weaknesses in the organization. And because of those weaknesses, in the year 2001, in Sirte, in Libya, under the tutelage of Muammar al-Gaddafi, there was a decision to reform the organization. And in 2002, in Durban, South Africa, the reforms were and the OAU was renamed the African Union. And after that, in 2016, it was weak in certain areas, and President Paul Kagame of Rwanda was mandated to recommend certain reforms. And because of that history, there are those who have claimed that it is a toothless bulldog. I am saying that it has had weaknesses, and that the use of the word toothless bulldog to disparage the organization does not quite describe and understand the history that it has had over the years. That is the context in which
Okay, and then you also called on Africans to hold hands and work together to give the union back its teeth. Can you elaborate on that? How can we best do that?
I can see that you are focused on having this deep analogy.
No, we just want...
In order to make the debate go forward, I am saying that until now, the African Union has been a top-down organization. And because it is top-down, it is not understood nor appreciated by the African man in the street. And that going forward must be reformed to ensure that there is people participation, so that people involved in the process of decision making. And if they are, then they will be working toward the fulfillment of our agenda. If, for example, you look at after 63, very few people understand the 7 pillars of which it is founded. How can that be achieved? It can be achieved by asking the 54 member to cascade the ideals of AU to the people. I would even go far and recommend going forward, we should have African Union clubs in schools and universities so that it can be appreciated and body.
Okay,
and
we will
that
just...
will give you the people that we so much.
Okay, we will just have to continue, but because I sense that I think network is dropping a little bit, some of the words are not clear. But the Africa Union also wants to silence the guns this year and create one passport for all Africa. Is this a pipe dream, Professor?
Yeah, this is the year of silencing the gun. And silencing the gun, of creating an environment that enable the continent to find peace and prosperity. So it's not merely silencing the gun, but the condition precedent to ensuring and prosperity. But that must be understood in context. There's been a lot of conflict. If you go to the Sahel, if you go to places like here in South Cameroon, right now in northern Mozambique, and a few other areas afflicted as undermine the whole process that people are involved in economic other activities. So that is the agenda which I think ought to be supported. The second thing is the African passport. At the meeting of African states and governments in Rwanda, it was decided that we ought to have a single passport in order to facilitate the movement of peoples across the continent. So far, the passport has not really been issued in a manner that would aid that agenda, because countries are still wedded to their sovereignty. And I think that visas is also a cost for many countries, so they don't want to move out. But I look forward to the fact that there is an initiative of that kind which is going to be supported in the continental free trade area. When it is implemented later in the year, the month of will also accompany that is the issuance of the to African.
We lost you a little bit there. You said the month of?
In the month of July.
Okay.
It is intended that the Secretary General take off and begin to serve. Of course, there is in the grape that it is intended to postpone that operational day. I hope it's just rumors.
Okay. Professor, yes, you talk about this year being the year that Africa wants to silence its guns, but Africa is not at ease. The continent is unstable politically, economically, financially. Talk of insecurity. How do we get out of this and become a new Africa?
It is not for the faint. Every continent has conflicts. We have witnessed the situation arose in Europe when the Soviet Union, and we now know that in countries such as Ukraine, there are still there is conflict in Kosovo, there is conflict in Chechnya, there is conflict in Georgia, and if you go to, we know that there are such as Sendero, Chile. So sometimes when we talk about it, people present as if it is a unique problem. It is not.
No,
Africa does have problems.
The reason why
the resolution.
The reason why we'll have to focus on our continent is the same people that you're talking of, like China, are also coming to Africa to benefit from Africa and Africans. The Chinese in Africa are seen as a threat as we speak, and some even consider it as a systematic recolonization of the continent. Do you think Africa really needs this at this moment, Professor?
I think there is merit in what you are saying, in recognizing that if Africa does not tie up, then she's in danger of being recognized. And this is something that is seen by quite a number of. Kwame Nkrumah was of recognizing that United Africa will be susceptible to the neo-colonial project. And Simon Kapwepwe in Zambia said in the 1960s that if we are not, former colonizers will come back and invest, and they'll take all of. And you can see the Chinese have been misconducting the continent. And if we are not very careful, there is the danger that we may be faced with a new monster in the form of the Chinese. We must not let go down.
But you speak of Kwame Nkrumah. Should we safely say that our generation has failed to bring Africa to the level that he expected?
Not at all. I think the sense in which we judge ourselves. It is only about 60 years since we regained in South Africa regained our independence in only 1994. So if you look at the scheme of things, there are some things that we have done well. There are others that we have not done very well. And the beauty is that we now recognize that we have been punching below our weight. The realization that you are weak and that you've made mistakes is the first step toward resolving those mistakes. So I'm not one who we have failed. No, we have made mistakes, and it is now the time to redouble our efforts. And the beauty of COVID-19, if it can be beautiful at all, it has given us an opportunity to introspect and to ask some questions which we never wanted to ask. One of which is, can we survive without relying on others? Number two, can we survive on resources, both human and natural? And I think that we have answered those questions in the past, and we can see a number of things doing very admirable things. If you look at, if you permit me to mention just a few, you'll find very positive things in countries such as Rwanda, Ghana, South Africa, Botswana, and Tanzania, and Ethiopia. Things are happening.
Okay.
So let us not act too harshly.
All right, Professor. And nobody can live forever. This we all know. But your voice will definitely linger on. What advice can you give in preparation for the next generation? Today,
there is a term that is used by that going forward, what we have is what is called generational leadership. I was being educated by a lady from Tunisia yesterday that the average age of people in Africa is 64 years, yet average age in the continent of Africa is 20 years. It therefore behooves us to ensure that going forward we have a mix of leaders, those who are old for their wisdom and those who are for their enthusiasm, energy. That combination is the perfect recipe that will ensure that we benefit from the wisdom of age and from the energy of youth. That combined will make us great again.
All right, speaking of your advice for the next generation, Professor, some Africans feel your loyalty is divided as a Pan-Africanist and a lawyer, like when you represented President Uhuru Kenyatta in an election petition that was declared rigged by the Kenya Supreme Court. You also endorsed Tanzania's President Magufuli, who is known to be intolerant to the press and freedom of speech. Why do you represent tyrant leaders and presidents who cheat their system?
First of all, I always find that I'm looking to anybody who knows what law is first of all, I did not represent President Uhuru Kenyatta. When somebody asks that question, is that they even don't know the fact. Number two, I represented IEBC. And whenever a case is lost, it does not mean that it was right. Legality and right are two different things. And who says that the elections were, it simply says that they were irregular.
But
the tragedy of those, no, just listen, don't be in a hurry to disrupt what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The problem in Africa is that those, including yourself, you comment on things that you have not read. If I ask you today, have you read the judgment? And the answer is you have not. If I ask you today, have you read the judgment in the Malawi case? No, just you are in a hurry to interrupt
Professor,
me.
this
Let
is
me
the
make
reason
my
for this platform to ask
No,
you such questions for you to
no,
elaborate.
no,
We can read
don't
and you say
stop
that
me.
it was.
Let me make my point. Don't use me to make your point. The point I'm making, have you read the Malawi judgment? Have you read the Congolese judgment? Have you read the Nigerian the judgment? That people, that the Tanzanian president is intolerant. Do you think that journalists have the monopoly of wisdom and knowledge? So when people ask that question,
You say journalists have the monopoly of wisdom, intelligence?
but we will not be brought down, but they are entitled to their opinion. So let them get the facts right first before they ask the question, and read before they ask questions.
Professor, there's some journalists that have been arrested in Tanzania. And obviously that about press freedom in Tanzania and other African countries, I'm sure you are aware of that. It's not a matter of monopoly of intelligence or wisdom, but as Pan-Africanists, we expect you to balance the facts as well for us as journalists. And that is why we give you this platform, such platforms for us to learn from you and get the facts from you.
Let me ask you, have you read the charges that faced that justice?
Sorry, I didn't get you there, Professor.
Are you familiar with the facts of the case involving that journalist?
It's not one. Which particular journalist?
No, you are the one who has raised the question. Can you name them?
There are a number of journalists. I can even tell you about 2 journalists that have been arrested. They're still behind bars in Zimbabwe as we speak because they were trying to interview someone during the COVID-19 regulations. And of course, there are regulations in every country, but this is just one of many cases in Africa, Professor. So I'm just talking to you as a Pan-Africanist, as someone who has Africa at heart.
There is a very misguided assumption that if you are a Pan-Africanist, your views must conform with everybody's views. That I think is unfortunate. If that was the case, we will all have one idea, and you don't have to agree with me. And number one, I'm unaware of journalists who are arrested in Zimbabwe. I do not have the fact. I do not
okay,
have
let's
the
talk
fact
about
why
the. Okay, what about the journalists in Tanzania?
No, do you want me to make my point, or you want to cut me?
No, I'm trying, since you said you don't know, because I can hardly hear you, the network is very bad, and I just want to pick the most important facts. You said you don't know about journalists in Zimbabwe.
I am very worried. You are a journalist. I'm very worried of journalists who have a point to make, and then they invite people to be interviewed so that they can make those points. And you don't want me to make my point. And I'm beginning to think that you are such a journalist. You have a point, an agenda that you want to drive, and you don't want me to make a point. You are looking for soundbite.
No, I'm not looking for soundbite. Okay, Professor, do you believe there is press freedom in Africa? Maybe I can rephrase it that way.
I believe that a number of countries have problems, and that a number of countries have mistreated journalists. But you cannot generalize without the benefit of having facts. These ideas, journalists have the monopoly of wisdom and that they are free to say what they want without looking at the law is completely misguided. If journalists want to operate, they must speak the truth. They must also take care of the security of the nations, and that is the way it is done. This idea that you can just come like a rogue bull in a china shop and say anything and everything in a state of emergency is Eurocentric and misguided.
No, Professor, I will ask this again. Do you believe there is press freedom in Africa?
Which Africa? There are 55 African countries in Africa. Which country are you talking about?
I will talk about Tanzania, I'll talk about Kenya, I'll talk about Zimbabwe, I'll talk about Ethiopia, I will talk about Nigeria. I can name all the countries. Is there press freedom in Africa, Professor?
This is which is current now. People insult the President of the Republic of Kenya. People insult the President of the Republic of Uganda. People insult the President of Ethiopia. What do you want? You want a situation where people say anything without caring about information and without truth and what you call press freedom? You want to describe anarchy as freedom? Freedom must be within the law.
So, Professor, if journalists are reporting with what is happening and then they attempt that they're insulting the leaders, and journalists are there to represent the people and also to report what the leaders are doing, and if there is miscommunication between the leaders and their citizens, then journalists are arrested for reporting what is on ground. What would you call that, Professor?
Which people do journalists, who appointed the journalists to represent the journalists represent different ideas. Sometimes they represent the owners of the press. Sometimes they represent the owners of the economy. Who is this? I did not appoint a journalist to represent me. They are merely reporting what happens. And if any journalist thinks that they represent people, they are completely wrong. Journalists don't represent me. They represent those who are employed. The BBC has jaundiced views about Africa. Radio Deutsche Welle, jaundiced view about Africa. French TV about Africa. Al Jazeera has its own. Al Arabiya has its own. Which people do they represent? They are merely reporting, and sometimes they misreport.
Okay, Professor, aside with the journalists, what about you supporting the dictators? You didn't answer me.
Which dictator?
Sorry?
Which dictator?
Africa, you support a number of African presidents. Like I mentioned, President Uhuru Kenyatta.
You name the person you are describing as dictators and why you call them dictators. Do you call them dictators because a European newspaper is calling them dictators?
Can you repeat that, Professor?
Are you calling them dictators because some European newspapers say they are dictators?
No, because I am from Africa and I see them dictating, Professor.
Tell me you are a dictator.
Sorry?
Name the person you are calling a dictator and why.
President Mugabe died as a dictator.
Did I support him? Did I elect him?
Hello, I can't hear you, Professor. Can you repeat that?
President Mugabe was elected by Zimbabweans. Did I support him? Did I elect him?
Okay.
Name another one.
President Magufuli.
He was elected by who says he's a dictator? You or who?
Tanzanians.
Which ones? Which Tanzanians? When did you take a poll of Tanzanians to arrive at such a conclusion?
Professor, I am a journalist and I work for Deutsche Welle Africa department, and we do have a lot of reports from African. Allow me to make my point as well, Professor. We agreed that
a lot. When you say a lot, which one? You are sitting in Germany and you think you can just abuse African. You can't sit in Germany
Can
and then
you-
just insult people without evidence.
Professor, can you stand for citizens, normal citizens, ordinary citizens, the way you're standing for
No.
these leaders?
You
Are
know,
you saying, okay, let's
you are
talk
saying
about
a
Africa
particular
Union that
leader,
you...
you are saying a particular leader is a dictator. How can you sit in Germany and say, make such a case without evidence?
We have all the evidence. We have all the evidence,
Well, produce
brutality,
it.
violence, insecurity in Africa, Professor.
Don't talk about Africa, mention countries.
I did mention countries. There is insecurity in Nigeria, Boko Haram. What is
So
President
that
Buhari
makes
doing
Buhari a
about it?
dictator?
There's insecurity in Zimbabwe. President Mnangagwa right now, what is he doing about it, Professor?
So am I the president of Zimbabwe?
Professor, you do meet these presidents in all those meetings,
When
Africa
did I
Union.
meet President Mnangagwa? When did I meet President Mnangagwa? I think you have lost control of this conversation. Please
But
terminate it.
okay,
You have lost
I might be...
control of this conversation. Terminate it. Is no longer useful.
Well, there we go. Thank you so much all for listening. We were talking to Professor Patrick Lumumba, a Pan-Africanist from Kenya. Thank you. Thank you very much for listening. We're talking to Professor Patrick Lumumba all the way from Kenya. He is a Pan-Africanist. As you noticed that the talk got heated as we were talking about press freedom in Africa. We're talking of security issues in Africa. We're asking him about supporting some dictators, African leaders in Africa. And well, you heard it for yourselves. Thank you so much for joining us. And until next time, when we bring you another live session here on DW Africa, I am Josie Mahachi signing out.